Motherfucker him! One-handed catch! Oh, he's got it!
Holy smokes. I don't know if you guys are living in Jersey and just felt what I felt, but oh man, I thought my house was coming down. I think we just had an earthquake. Back in our home, we just grabbed the kid. Shay's at daycare. We grabbed Ren and Bolly, ran out the door. Holy smokes. Mark says he felt it in Woodbridge. Red John felt it. Jersey Dude felt it. Dude, you guys all felt it too. Holy smokes. Dude, that was absolutely terrifying. I thought my furnace exploded. So the plan was to talk about the top 50 prospects. I'm still planning to do that, but for a few seconds here, let's just acknowledge what the hell that was. Oh, man. Mark felt it in Woodbridge. Schenectady, New York also. Red John says it was 4.8. Is that true? Holy smokes. Hawk says Ocean County and Jersey Shore had a nice shake. Wildwave says the whole East Coast felt it. Holy crap. Wow. That was scary. I can't imagine living in a place where that happens like semi-frequently. Oof. That was not fun. Not fun. Radimus is in Monmouth County. Terramine got hit in Long Island as well. Thank you, Carlos. Stay safe. Jersey thought someone... Dude, I honestly... I went around... First, I thought my furnace exploded. And I was like, oh my God, my house is coming down. We got to get out of the house. Second thought, there was like a Jersey Power and Light guy driving down. I was like, oh, this dude fucking blew something up on my block. And that's what's going on. And then it went to did something else explode? And then people start popping their heads out of the houses. They're like, holy smokes, it was an earthquake or something. Jesus. Jerome. So Jeff Life is in Toronto. He didn't feel anything. Dude. Cuddy felt it in Connecticut. Holy smokes. Sorry. I'm flabbergasted. That was not fun. Mike D's Nuts says that was just JD busting into the facility. Whew. All right. Wow. Yeah, it was really like Aaron Rodgers setting foot on the ground. The rest of the world being told that the Jets are coming for him. Whew. Ben Moore said nothing in Rochester. Matt felt it in Westchester. Not even an earthquake can derail us. Yo. That was nuts. That was crazy. All right. Let's steer this back on topic. Been working the last few days. I haven't had the opportunity to really take a look at Daniel Jeremiah's top 50 prospect list. I have it pulled up. We'll take a look at it, go through it together. I want to hear your thoughts on this list as well. I also have a list of all the visits that the Jets have had with players or meetings between virtual top 30 pro day, all this stuff. I want to take a look at that list and kind of key in on a few players that I really like right now. There's definitely players on there that I have not done a ton of research on. Wow. I'm still shook. Holy smokes. All right. We're going to get through this. We got this. All right. Here we go. Let's head over. We'll go over to the shared screen here. I got to do the plug first. If you guys are new here, and you don't know about 𝐀𝐟𝐼𝐥𝐢, head down to the description. Link in the description down below. Jets Talk will get you 25% off your order if you like THC seltzers, THC gummies. They just dropped some Sleepy Time gummies that they're sending me. I'm super excited for this. I can't wait to get them. And they have a sour watermelon seltzer now. So I'm like, your boy's excited. Way more excited than I probably should be. But that's all right. I'm looking forward to it. I have a lot of fun. If you guys are interested, check it out. Description down below. All right. I'm going to need a gummy after that. Jesus. Okay. Daniel Jeremiah's top 50 2024 NFL Draft Prospect Rankings 4.0. So as you can see here, he's had his 3, 2, and 1.0 already. So we're just going to go through this. I'll read over some ones that I think are interesting that might apply to the New York Jets. I'm not going to break down every single player necessarily. We'll scroll through it just to see it. But Caleb Williams, number 1 overall. This seems to be the most consensus pick overall, so I'm not going to spend too much time here. I'll be honest, I don't love Caleb Williams. I think he does give me a little pause for concern with maybe some of the, I don't want to say entitlement, or like there's an air about him that feels very Hollywood, I guess, and I don't know if that's going to play in an NFL locker room. But talent-wise, he's got it. Dude can sling the rock. I am concerned about his lack of wins against big-time opponents. It seems whenever he plays a good team, they don't live up to the expectation. But Chicago is very well off with their wide receiver room and what they're doing to surround him with talent. Number 2, Marvin Harrison Jr. This is one that I think is really interesting because there's always those rumors of the Jets possibly trading up to number 4. Probably not number 4, but probably up to number 5, maybe, if you're considering coming up for Neighbors or Marvin Harrison Jr. Daniel Jeremiah says Harrison has ideal size, speed, and production, built like a power forward. He plays a blend of physicality and explosiveness. He uses his upper body strength and to power through press coverage. He's a smooth, fluid route runner and closes the cushion quickly. He gets on his toes. He gets on the toes of cornerbacks before sharply breaking off his route. He can tap into another gear when the ball goes up, and he tracks over his shoulder with ease. He knows how to use his big frame to wall off and shield defenders. Harrison has a huge catch radius, but he did have some contact drops in traffic this fall. After the catch, he relies on speed and physicality more than elusiveness. Overall, Harrison is a prototypical number 1 wide receiver and should enjoy immediate NFL success. So the value with coming up for someone like Marvin Harrison Jr. for me is that he is NFL ready right now. I've said that with the lineage guys that have, the last name, right? Like your father was in the NFL. You know how to train basically from being a little kid. And Marvin Harrison Jr. provides the most impact right now of all the wide receivers, I think. There's a lot of receivers that can come in and have an immediate impact, but I think he has the highest floor. And I think that's still sky-high ceiling. I think all of it, like a few wide receivers here have a sky-high ceiling, but maybe just not as safe of a player as Marvin Harrison Jr. I don't particularly want to trade up for him, I'll be honest. I think it's going to cost too much to come up to number 5. So I would probably pass on Marvin Harrison Jr. unless he, maybe makes it down to like pick 8 or something. Number 3, this is my number 1 player that I have the New York Jets targeting, and that's Rome Odunze. I do think there's a really good shot that he could go to the Bears at 9, but I'm hoping he makes it down to number 10. This would be my selection here. Jeremiah says, Odunze is a big athletic wideout with exceptional hands. He can play outside or in the slot. He is refined and polished in everything he does on the field. He uses a variety of releases at the line of scrimmage and is a clean route runner. He uses his strength to lean into the defenders before separating out of the break point. He thrives in traffic, possesses the ability to pluck the ball and absorbing big shots over the middle. He makes some incredible adjustments on poorly thrown balls. He tracks naturally over his shoulder after the catch. He is very tough to bring down and has some nifty make-miss ability. He plays with tons of passion and energy. Overall, Odunze is a complete player and reminds me of Larry Fitzgerald coming out of college. Now, I don't know about you, but when I read the Odunze blurb here versus the Marvin Harrison Jr. blurb, I really like the Odunze blurb. And to me, Odunze provides that big body frame that you're going to have long-term to complement with Garrett Wilson. 5-year contract, the value of wide receivers constantly going up, $20 million contracts consistently. I think seeing us spend a top 10 pick on another wide receiver is probably a wise move from a value perspective. You only have Mike Williams for 1 year, and he's not even going to be ready possibly by the start of the season. So how is he? He's not going to be ready for training camp. Is he going to be up to speed? Having someone that you can rely on is pretty cool. Not to mention, when he gets back healthy, you got Mike Williams and Rome Odunze on the outside, and then you got Garrett Wilson in the slot. Oh, man, that would be scary. That would be scary. I like Odunze a lot. Malik Neighbors, big fan of him. That blazing speed, 4.33, I think, at his pro day. Neighbors is a dynamic receiver with outstanding competitiveness and production. He explodes off the line in his release, creating immediate separation. He sets up defenders before snapping off his route. He isn't afraid to work the middle of the field and has strong hands to finish through contact. When working back to the quarterback, he prefers to let the ball travel to his body, but his drops are limited. He can scoop low throws off his shoes and easily adjust to balls on his back hip. He does a lot of damage in the slot fades, where he uses his speed to win early and he tracks the ball with ease. After the catch, he explodes through tackles, also has a nasty stiff arm. Overall, Neighbors is an electric playmaker who reminds me of DJ Moore with the ball in his hands. Really, any three of these wide receivers, I'd be really, really excited with. I think Neighbors, to me, while he would be fun, it's not the size profile I necessarily want, and that's not to say if he makes it to 10, I wouldn't take him. If he makes it to 10, I would absolutely have no problem with us running up that pick. But for me, through this entire process of the offseason, I've been saying I really want to have a bigger bodied wide receiver, contested catch guy. That's what Mike Williams is. That's what Rome Odunze could be moving forward here. Cuddy comes in. What's up, Cuddy? Let's throw this comment on the screen. Cuddy says, need Pats not to get Daniels. Bills not to enter the top 10. The Bills would have to give up a lot. What are they picking right now? 28 or 29? They'd have to give up a lot of stuff to get all the way up to number 10. I don't know if they have the assets to do that. I do think they could come up into the middle teens and get like a Brian Thomas Jr. I would prefer them to get a Keon Coleman, honestly. I do think wide receiver is squarely on the market now that they no longer have Stefan Diggs over there. All right. Music Man says, you need to title this upload Earthquake Edition. I'll change the title after this, and I'll just say Earthquake Edition. Wow. Matthias says, happy I'm in Florida, going home in time for the eclipse. Cuddy says, 11 picks they have, though. So I'd have to look at the Bills and see where those picks are. I didn't realize they were had as many picks as that. All right, let's continue on through this list here. Work our way through this as we go. Got Drake May at number 5, Jaden Daniels number 6. I really like Jaden Daniels. He would be my number 1 overall pick right now. And I would say Michael Penix is my second favorite quarterback, but I wouldn't. I'm hoping he rises enough for us to trade back a little bit, but I would be very leery taking him in the top 10 due to the injuries. Brock Bowers, another big name for New York Jet fans. This is my number 2 player on my big board, realistically. I'm assuming Marvin Harrison Jr. and Neighbors are not going to be available, and Alt and some other players. So Odunze for me is number 1, Bowers number 2, 1A, 1B, whatever you want to call it. I really like Brock Bowers. Bowers is an undersized tight end with elite speed, strength, and playmaking ability. He is lined up all over the field at Georgia, in line, on the wing, split out, and even as a running back. This is what's so interesting is, like, God forbid something happens to Brees. I feel like you could sort of line up Bowers in the backfield, at least not as like your full-time running back, but in like trick plays where you may not feel, where you feel like you have to deceive the defense a little bit more because you don't have the power of a Brees Hall. He is very sudden in his release, and he uses his upper body strength to chuck defenders when pressed at the line of scrimmage. He catches a lot of quick hitters in the flat, and he's a maniac on screens. So for those of you saying we can't take a tight end because the offensive line isn't ready, Brock Bowers is going to get open very fast, and the best way to neutralize an offensive line that might have some iffy parts about it is to get the ball out fast. Look at Tua Tagovailoa. That offensive line was not very good. He got the ball out in 2 seconds. That's how he was able to manipulate that offense and get down the field. Brock Bowers, Garrett Wilson, Brees Hall, these are guys that are going to get open very, very quickly. Aaron Rodgers is going to get the ball out of his hands. He's not going to take the hits that we saw Zach Wilson take or that we saw Rodgers take at the beginning of last season. Not to mention our offensive line is going to be a lot better. He attacks the ball in the air and is quick to transition up the field. He has the speed to pull away, home run threat, like I've been saying that the Jets need. Obviously, with them going after wanting Jahmyr Gibbs, wanting a Michael Mayer last year, I feel like this kind of falls in line with my thinking. That's why I think weapon at 10 is where they're headed. But his greatest asset is his tackle breaking power. He runs through contact without gearing down. He is an effective run blocker when he can get his hands on opponents, but he will get pressed out by longer-armed edge rushers. Overall, Bowers reminds me a lot of George Kittle, and I see him having a similar impact in the NFL. If that's the case, if you think this kid is George Kittle, make the pick. Make the pick. No issues here whatsoever. Odunze provides value in terms of contract. Bowers provides value in terms of a different type of skill set. Bowers, to me, gives you something different, where Odunze is a little redundant to Mike Williams. But you don't have Mike Williams that long, and Mike Williams isn't going to be ready. So that's sort of where I kind of go. But I would take one of those two players with my pick. And if you think he's going to be George Kittle, he's worth a top 10 pick. I don't care. Don't tell me that tight end's not worth a top 10 pick. If you think he's George Kittle or Kelsey or Laporta or Mark Andrews, it's a top 10 pick. Take him. Don't even think twice about it. Number 8, you got Joe Alt. This is a very popular offensive tackle for the New York Jets. Although I'll be honest, if the Jets trade up and took Joe Alt, there's a little bit of me that would be kind of disappointed. Like, as goofy as that sounds, someone who wanted offensive line in the worst way for so long, there would be a little bit of me that's kind of disappointed if we move up. Now, if he falls to 10, as long as Odunze's not there, I'm probably on board with this. But holy smokes, who would have thunk it? Anyway, let's go into Alt. Alt started at left tackle during all 3 seasons of it at Notre Dame, boasted exceptional size and length for the position. In pass protection, he plays with a wide base and is very under control. He will mix up his pass sets, occasionally jump setting, and stunning opponents. He has the quickness to kick out and cover up outside speed rushers while also possessing the length to keep power rushers from getting into his chest. He is always very aware and is a valuable helper when uncovered. In the run game, he gets movement on down blocks, looking to finish through the whistle. He takes proper angles on the second level, but he's not elite in space when it comes to adjusting on moving targets. Although overall, Alt isn't a rare athlete, but his combination of size, instincts, and youth, he'll be 21 for his entire rookie season, is easy to bet on. To me, trading up for an offensive lineman is not where I want to go because of how many good offensive linemen are still going to be available at 10. I don't know if Joe Alt is that much better than the field of offensive linemen that it justifies a trade up. Obviously, if you need an offensive lineman and he's there, make him your first selection. No issues there. Terrion Arnold, I like seeing him up here. Obviously, he's fallen down one spot from 8 to 9 on Jeremiah's list based on this. I want someone to want to come up for a cornerback if we can't trade down with someone who wants a quarterback. So I like seeing the corner up high. Talise Funga dropping one spot down. Lots of connections to the New York Jets. Senior Bowl dominant. Although I'll be honest, I haven't really paid too close of attention to him since the additions of Morgan Moses and Tyron Smith. Maybe that's a bad way to look at it. My attention has actually turned to number 11 on Jeremiah's list. Troy Fautanu. This is the guard tackle hybrid here. Fautanu is an explosive left tackle prospect for the Huskies. He has average height and thick square build with long arms. In pass protection, he is a very easy mover, bends well, and has sharp, jolting punch. He redirects smoothly and is a nasty helper when uncovered. His biggest issue is when he gets over-aggressive and loses his balance trying to pummel pass rushers instead of playing with more patience. In the run game, he can get underneath defenders and uproot them at the point of attack. He is very explosive as a puller on screens with the ability to get all the way to the third level in a hurry. He does have some starting experience at guard, and some NFL teams will project him inside. Overall, I view Fautanu as a starting tackle with positional flexibility to play all 5 O-line spots if needed. I hadn't even considered him as a center, but this would be the player. If I had to go with an offensive lineman at 10, this is the one I would kind of want. This is that AVT-style clone that you have tackle, you have guard, and I guess apparently they think he could play center as well. But 5 position O-line spots for Fautanu. I think when you look at Tyron Smith's, spotty starting, he's probably gonna miss 3-4 games throughout the season. Now he hasn't been missing playoff games, but something you want to consider, especially with AVT coming off an Achilles injury. You don't know how he's going to perform right away. John Simpson at the other guard, 2-year contract, really a 1-year guarantee. So Troy could definitely play a lot of snaps this year. Dallas Turner, top edge rusher. I'm thinking he's going to go number 8 to the Falcons. Quinion Mitchell you could argue Quinion Mitchell might be the top corner in this class. He was absolutely dominant at the Senior Bowl. I think the top 4 corners or so are all kind of interchangeable based on what you're possibly looking for. So if a team falls in love with one of them, maybe they're coming up, someone like a Jacksonville, someone like an Indianapolis Colts, maybe they want to come up a little bit, get their guy as opposed to waiting and getting who might fall to them. Jared Verse, another edge rusher, could be looking the same direction as the corners here. Him and Dallas Turner kind of been interchangeable as edge 1 and edge 2. Olu Fashanu, at one point, number 2 overall tackle, left tackle 2 in this class. Someone that I thought for sure would be gone for the New York Jets at number 10 when we won against the Commanders. And then I was like, oh, great, we're not going to get the tackle that we so desperately need. Well, joke's on me. This guy's fallen a little bit. I could see him ending up in New Orleans or Vegas with the Raiders. I could see him going to a whole host of teams, really. There's a lot, including our New York Jets. Leatu Latu may be the top edge rusher if it weren't for his career-threatening injury he had 2-3 years ago now. Absolutely dominant edge rusher. I really like him. Someone's going to get some pretty good value with him at 16. Brian Thomas Jr., one of my favorite wide receivers, 6'3", big frame, blazing speed. What do you run, a 4.33 or 4.35? Thomas is a big explosive wideout with incredible production, including an FBS best 17 touchdown catches this past season. He lines up outside and in the slot. He easily defeats press coverage with his quickness. He is very sudden in his release and can find another gear once the ball is up in the air. He is very loose and fluid as a route runner. He has snap at the top of his route and doesn't waste steps. He has a large catch radius because of his frame, leaping ability, and ball skills. After the catch, he has some wiggle to make defenders miss and also boasts some home run speed. Overall, Thomas is a big play machine and has upside to develop into a number 1 wide receiver for his drafting team. So I would probably argue that Odunze, Bowers, and Brian Thomas Jr. are my 3 players that I'd really keep an eye on. Thomas Jr. is more in the event of a trade down, but I would say Thomas Jr. is probably as far down the wide receiver rung in the first round that I want to go. Once you get past Brian Thomas Jr., I don't know if there's a whole lot separating everyone else. I really like him. I'd be down with this. J.C. Latham could be the top right tackle. I know he's number 2 on the right-hand side, or actually number 2. Yeah, because Fotanu would be a left tackle. Alt. Yeah. Anyway, J.C. Latham, tree trunks for legs. A lot of Jet fans, a little nervous about him because of the getting blown up during the national championship game. Or was that the semifinals? I'm losing my mind now. Latham is a massive right tackle, has an enormous power base, and taps into it in the run and pass games. In pass protection, he has average quickness, but plays with good knee bend and a flat back. He can anchor power rushers immediately. Yeah, dude. As soon as he sinks his hips, no one's moving this dude back. This dude's powerful. He has vice grips for hands. Once he gets attached to defenders, the pass rush is over. When caught out of position, he flashes the ability to recover torque and dump opponents. His awareness versus stunts and blitzers has been inconsistent. He gets surprised too often, leading to penetration and pressures. In the run game, he is a mauler. He latches on, runs his feet, and dumps defenders. He is very good on combo blocks. Overall, Latham doesn't have ideal foot quickness or awareness, but his size and physicality are very tantalizing. So it seems like Jeremiah's a little lower on Latham than I think a few other people are. Jet fans, I feel like, see him and think Mekhi Becton, and they're not really interested in this particular player. I wouldn't be upset if we wound up taking him, but based on this analysis of his play, inconsistent versus stunts and blitzes, I've seen that so much with Mekhi Becton and the rest of this offensive line. If there's any sort of project where he's going to have to learn about that on the fly, I don't know if I necessarily want to pencil him in. Trade down scenario, would be open to it. Byron Murphy, top defensive tackle. I do not want to do this, Jets. Do not make the selection. J.J. McCarthy coming in at number 20. Obviously, we want him to go in the top 5 or top 10. It sounds like he's going to go top 5 realistically. I don't know. We'll see. This is kind of where I would have thought to have him power ranking wise anyway. Back part of the first round is really where I see him overall. Chop Robinson. Jets are bringing in Chop Robinson. Or they did. They're meeting with him. I have him on my list that I'll show at the end of the day. Not the end of the day. At the end of this, once we go through the top 50, I'm going to pull up the list of all the players the Jets have met with or are meeting with, and we can kind of go through it and discuss some of it. I want to hear your thoughts on this too. And like, we can certainly go into the earthquake thing that we all just experienced. Oh, holy smokes. Number 22, Amarius Mims. And you know what? I'm gonna plug in Amarius Mims and Tyler Guyton back to back. You see these two guys right here? I guess he fell 2 spots from where he was last time, and Guyton fell 1 spot. But either way, if the Jets trade down with like Philadelphia at number 22, Amarius Mims and Tyler Guyton have the size, but don't have the snaps to really fall in love with them. So if you're sliding far enough back, you're adding some extra draft picks, I would take these guys as developmental tackles. Not even necessarily developmental tackles because they could play this year, but I would very much like to add one of these in a trade down if the top receivers are all off the board. Like if Brian Thomas Jr. is not there when we pick and his slide down and Fatanu's gone, these would be the two I'd be looking at. For Mims, Mims is an enormous right tackle prospect with long arms. He has very limited starting experience, 8 total starts in 3 years at Georgia, partially due to injury. That part scares me. While the resume is light, the skill set is impressive. In pass protection, he always plays with a firm, wide base and uses his length to control defenders. He stays square and patient. When he does throw his punch, he jolts defenders, making them take a second to recover. He can sink his weight against power rushers and doesn't give up ground. He plays with good awareness. In the run game, he can latch, run his feet, and finish. He struggles in space on occasion because he's out of control. To see him at his best, watch college football playoff game against Ohio State in 2022. When he was healthy and dominant, he battled through an injury during the 2023 season. Overall, there is a risk because of limited body of work, but Mims is a unique talent. The injury part is the part that I think concerns Jet fans right now based on how our offensive line has kind of handled injury the last few years. So maybe you're out on him. I love the size profile. If the Jets made this pick in a trade down scenario, I wouldn't really be upset. I had him in my top 5 players to watch for number 10 back at the end of the season. So it's not going up to number 10, but probably more in a trade down scenario. Tyler Guyton, on the other hand. Guyton is tall, long, and rangy right tackle. He doesn't have a ton of starting experience, 15 total starts over 4 years at Oklahoma and TCU, but he is very gifted. In pass protection, he explodes out of his stance and has a range to cover up speed rushers. He is very fluid and smooth in his redirect versus counter rushers. He plays with excellent knee bend. His problems arise versus power rushers, where he can look a little flimsy up top and get tugged and pulled. He has very good awareness for someone with limited reps. In the run game, he moves like a tight end. He can reach and cut off easily, excelling in space. He is exceptional as a puller because of his athleticism and balance on the perimeter. He does a great job staying off the ground. Overall, Guyton is still a work in progress, but has elite traits and tools. This guy would not shock me if he went a little bit higher based on those metrics. Graham Barton, another player you could take a look at for the New York Jets in a trade down scenario. And this guy's crawling up draft boards. I had him going, I believe it was to the Cowboys in one of my mocks. But he could play all over the offensive line. Keep an eye out for Graham Barton. Barton started at left tackle during his final 3 seasons at Duke. Prior to that, he started 5 games at center, and that's where I see him playing at the next level. He has ideal size for the position and average length. In pass protection, he is quick out of his stance, plays with knee bend, and has agility to redirect. He does struggle against power rushers. He doesn't play long-armed, exposes his chest, and gives ground. Fortunately, he loses slowly on most occasions, allowing the quarterback time to get the ball out. He is a technician in the run game. He always hits his landmarks and his hands on down blocks before sinking and driving with his lower half. He is excellent on combo blocks, and he's under control as a puller. Overall, I see Barton as an athletic center with the ability to survive at tackle if needed. So maybe not that you necessarily want to draft a center in the first round, and we already took one in Tippmann, and everyone wants to see Tippmann be the center long term. I'm open to playing our best 5 offensive linemen wherever they are. I don't necessarily need to have Tippmann locked in at center if he's going to be an elite level guard. Same thing with Graham Barton. If you draft Graham Barton in a trade down scenario and you want to say, hey, this guy can play any, spot on the offensive line, I think you can be happy with that and not be too upset. Cuddy comes in. Cuddy says, does adding veteran offensive tackles increase the chance of a farther trade down into the 20s and draft offensive tackles that need some refining that can learn behind good vets? I do. I think that's definitely what's going to happen. I think the Jets are looking for 𝐒𝐿𝐥𝐻𝐸 or Bowers. I think they do want to trade down. So if they can trade down just a little bit and get one of those guys, I think that's what they would prefer. But I think if they have to go down to get that second-round pick, like I talked about the other day with the Philadelphia Eagles, if you're going all the way back to number 22, then some of these offensive linemen start to make a little bit more sense. I do really like that potential option. I don't want to fall that far down. Ideally for me, if you could trade with number 12, Denver, or number 13, the Raiders, pick up a third, maybe pick up a second, if you could really get them to overpay for a quarterback that they like, if they think Penix is going to go to their division rival, that's what I would like to see. I don't want to go this far down. But if they do, I do think that bringing in the veteran offensive tackles allows you to not panic for an offensive tackle in the first round. Like, I don't think tackle at 10 makes sense for this team right now. You got Carter Warren, who they really like. Let him get a chance to learn behind Moses and behind Tyron Smith. So he could go either side, left or right. Then, if you get a second-round pick or a third-round pick, take a developmental tackle. I don't think you should be spending a top 10 pick on an offensive lineman that, not that you hope you don't see, but I want someone that's going to provide something different, something that's going to make this offense more dynamic. And I feel like 𝐒𝐿𝐥𝐻𝐸, Bowers, Brian Thomas are the guys that wind up doing that. I like that analysis, Cuddy. Cooper DeJean, not interested in cornerback this high, but I do think cornerback is going to be a need for the New York Jets. If the Jets pick up a second-round pick, I could see a third-round pick. Honestly, I could even see a second-round pick being a corner. If one of these top guys falls and they feel good about the offensive line, DJ Reed only has 1 year left on his contract, and as much as I want to see them bring him back, I don't know if they're going to commit that much money when they know they're going to have to pay Sauce down the line. Ideally, in my mind, I would love to retain Reed on a 2-year deal this year and next year, and then allow him to walk and get a big contract. Now, he's earned a big contract already, so if he wants to get paid, then it's probably a situation where you let him play out this year on, with the opportunity to really sign a massive contract next year with another team, try to recoup a pick or something along those lines. I am saving our franchise tag for Hassan Reddick. That's who I would like to see the Jets tag after this season, even though Reed is going to be a free agent as well. Edgerrin Cooper, I'm not thinking linebacker at all. Adonai Mitchell, very fun wide receiver to watch. Very, very fast. It's funny, when I started doing my mock draft initially, some of the sites I had that I was looking at, I guess must not have had updated wide receiver rankings at that point in time, because he was way lower. Like, I think I had him going in like the third or fourth round at that point in time. And then, of course, I get everyone that's been watching way more college football than me just getting super fired up. Like, I can't believe you had him that low. I was like, well, was not in the first round conversation when I started this. Now, dude's been balling out. He looks really good. He's fun to watch. This is probably someone to watch for the Bills at this point. I don't know if the Jets are going to have a shot at Adonai Mitchell, because if they fall this far back, I don't know if I see them going wide receiver in the first. But he's really good. He's fun to watch. Cornerback, again, not super interested. Bo Nix. So this is the first quarterback that I'm going to come across that I think gets wildly overdrafted. And I don't know if that's going to be by the Broncos. I don't think it's going to be by the Raiders. He feels to me like a Sean Payton type of quarterback. And the Broncos don't have a second-round pick. So I think this guy's going to go a little bit earlier than teams want to maybe take him. But the quarterback is so important, and you don't have a really great quarterback class in next year's draft. So when we did our Talking Jets thing, we were saying, like, who's going to be the first player that's going to be overdrafted. This would be my betting favorite. I mean, unless you want to say like J.J. McCarthy going 4 or 5, but I feel like I'm kind of reserved myself for this. Bo Nix, I don't think is a first-round quarterback. Jackson Powers Johnson at number 30. This is a lot lower than I had him for a while. He might be one of the best offensive linemen in this draft. 1 year at center. Absolute freak at the Senior Bowl. If you wanted to add him as an interior offensive lineman in a big trade down, I would not scoff at this at all. I'm still team weapon at number 10, but trade down wise, very, very interesting. I would think he's not in play for the Jets at this point, because we're not going to get high enough in the second round where he falls, and I don't think we're going to fall this far back in the first round. That would be a pretty beefy fallback. Nate Wiggins injured himself at the combine. I guess the dash implies he did not fall down draft boards, but I feel like that was A little surprising. I've seen him as high as top 10 before the combine. He's kind of fallen a bit here. Drazon Newton, not really interested in him for the New York Jets. Michael Penix at 33. Honestly, I think Penix would be my favorite talent at quarterback, like ready to play. I would say he would be my number 2 quarterback overall in terms of like Jaden Daniels and then Penix, but 2 ACL injuries, 4 season-ending injuries, a surgically repaired throwing shoulder. That stuff scares me. Doesn't make me feel good. Now, if there's a scenario where the Jets trade down and Penix falls in the second round and the Jets have a second-round pick, I would not be opposed to making the selection. It is way earlier than I want to take a quarterback. Like, I'm thinking 4th round, Jordan Travis, but Penix is, I think, a really, really good quarterback. I think he ends up going to the Raiders. That'll be my guess. Raiders or Broncos in the end. Ladd McConkey, popular name. I think you pencil him in based on his power ranking, maybe to the Panthers at the top of the second round. Little undersized, slot receiver. Fun to watch. Xavier Worthy, another blazing fast 40-yard dash. Breaks the all-time record at the combine. Wouldn't shock me if he goes higher because of that speed. Could you imagine him going to friggin' Miami? Miami's got to re-sign Waddle. I think Hill has, 2 years left, but his second year is like wildly expensive, so it's probably could be his last year. Unless I'm thinking of his contract wrong and it's slightly different than that. But it would not shock me to see them pull the trigger on a wide receiver if they don't go interior offensive lineman in the first round. Kool-Aid McKinstry, I've seen him everywhere. As far as maybe like the 3rd cornerback to like the 5th cornerback, 6th cornerback. Again, I don't expect the Jets to go that high on that. Interior offensive lineman, Zach Frazier. If he were to fall and the Jets have a second-round pick, then I'd probably consider something like this. But again, I'm probably more along the lines of wanting a tackle than interior offensive lineman at this point. Braden Fisk, flying up draft boards, although he has him down 1 spot. Daniel Jeremiah does. But really good Florida State defensive tackle. Darius Robinson, they bumped him down 1 spot. Versatile defensive lineman. I think a lot of people are going to like him. He had a really good Senior Bowl. Top of the second round is going to have some really star-studded talent fall down. Ricky Pearsall, popular name for Jet fans. If the Jets wind up having a second-round pick, maybe you trade up from your 3rd-round pick, catch him at the back end of the second. Pearsall is a loose, smooth wideout with outstanding hands and toughness. He is quick in his release, and he understands how to change gears as a route runner. He is fluid getting into and out of breaks. He has outstanding hands. He attacks the ball at the highest point and makes some circus catches. See the one-handed gem versus Charlotte. After the catch, he is quick to transition upfield and has the elusiveness to make defenders miss in space. Has a lean frame, but plays excellent toughness and competitiveness. Pearsall followed up an excellent 2023 season with a solid week at the Senior Bowl and should have a starting role for him day 1. I know a lot of Jet fans are very hyped on Ricky Pearsall. Would not be upset with this addition here. Brian comes in. Brian says, did you feel the earthquake? Let's go Jets. Yeah, dude, I was about to go live. This live stream started a little later because of the damn earthquake. That was horrifying. Becca and I'm sitting here getting ready for the stream. And if you want to see how the reaction to the earthquake was, go to the very beginning of this stream. And all of us that were in the chat immediately as it started were discussing the earthquake. Apparently it's a 4.8 earthquake or whatever. That was legitimately one of the scariest things I've ever experienced. I thought my house was coming down. I thought our furnace exploded or something. And then as I'm talking about it, I was like, dude, we just had an earthquake in my hometown. And then everyone, Connecticut, South Jersey, Western New York felt this tremor or shake or whatever. Pennsylvania, we saw people talking about. Absolutely crazy. That was a heart pounder for a bit. We ran out of the house, ran out of the crib, grabbed the dog, sprinted out. Not fun. Definitely a little scary for sure. All right. Linebacker Peyton Wilson. Troy Franklin. Troy Franklin, to me, is very similar to a Deshaun Jackson. Lean. I don't know how tall Jackson was. 6 foot, 6'1", maybe. I'm not sure where Franklin is as far as height, but he kind of gives me similar vibes to that. I wouldn't be opposed to this in a trade down scenario. I think I had Kansas City taking him at the tail end of the first, but now that you've seen Xavier Worthy's 40-yard dash, maybe they tend to go a different direction. Keon Coleman, another name to watch for the Buffalo Bills. Big, physical wideout with average play speed. Coleman has the versatility to play inside and outside. He is smooth and fluid, is a smooth and fluid route runner with some nuance to his game. He understands how to use his body, keep defenders on his back, and attack the ball in front of his frame. He doesn't have ideal vertical speed, but he can play above the rim and make contested catches. He also might have the best highlight reel in the draft class with one-handed wow catches littered throughout his tape. After the catch, he is competitive to fight for extra yards and will occasionally hurdle defenders. He's an excellent athlete. Overall, Coleman lacks ideal speed to separate, but makes a lot of big plays in crowded environments and should be a red zone menace at the next level. If you were to go with an offensive lineman in the first round and you were able to get a second-round pick, or Keon Coleman falls to you a little bit further, I wouldn't be opposed to that, because this is the style of wide receiver that I feel the Jets need, that bigger-bodied, contested catch, red zone type target. That's why I like Odunze. That's why I like Brian Thomas Jr. That's why I like Keon Coleman. I think he's possibly going to the Bills. Junior Colson, linebacker. Malachi Corley, physical slot wide receiver. A lot of Jet fans do like him in the event you get that second-round pick. Corley is a compact, physical slot wide receiver with outstanding run after the catch ability. He lives on quick hitters with the average depth of target 6.1 yards in 2023, according to Pro Football Focus. I said this earlier, if you don't have a good offensive line, getting the ball out fast is paramount. Tua did that all the time in Miami. Aaron Rodgers is going to try and do it here. Garrett Wilson, that's why I say Brock Bowers is one of those types of players. The route running ability of Odunze gets you excited as well. God forbid something happens to Breece Hall and teams start teeing off on the quarterback instead of like needing to be concerned about the running back. Having guys getting open quickly will be paramount to having any success. Hopefully, this is all just preparation, but this would also be a solid slot wide receiver if you want to keep Garrett on the outside. Garrett in the slot, though, with free releases. It's hard not to like that, though. Marshawn Kneeland, edge out of Western Michigan. I'm not really thinking edge rusher at all because my plan is to franchise tag Hassan Reddick and have him, JJ, and Will McDonald for the next 3 years. So I'm set at edge rusher for right now. Roman Wilson, another player Jet fans I've seen like. Wilson is a compact, muscled-up wideout with elite burst and explosiveness. He didn't see as many targets as others in this draft because of Michigan's dominant rushing attack. They obviously played through their running game at Michigan. He is at his best when he's on the move, especially on deep over routes. He attacks the leverage of the cornerback before exploding across the field and running away from his opponent. He gets matched up with safeties at times, and that leads to enormous separation and explosive plays. He showed more versatility as a route runner at the Senior Bowl. He can drop his weight at the top of routes and work back downhill. He has strong, reliable hands. After the catch, he relies on speed to generate chunk plays. Overall, Wilson lacks ideal size, but he has rare speed and quickness. He reminds me of the Packers' Jaden Reed. I expect Wilson to make a similar impact at the next level. Roman Wilson is a fun receiver. He looked like he might have been the most dominant of the wide receivers at the Senior Bowl. Like, obviously, you had, I know Xavier Legette and Tez Walker were both invited. I think one of them did not participate. I'm losing my mind as to which one it is. Cuddy comes in, says, mock draft, trade 10 to the Jags for 17 and 48, get Fuaga and Corley. So I think you can get an offensive lineman at 17. I don't know if it's going to be Fuaga. You might be getting a J.C. Latham. You might be getting a Fautanu. You might be... honestly, I don't know. There's a few guys that are all kind of clustered at the top. You just have to like enough of the offensive linemen where if you trade down to the Jags, you're probably okay. If I'm thinking, like, let's say we get to the pick at 10 and we want the value of trading down. I mean, if Odunze or Bowers are there, which one of them will be, I would make that pick personally. But if you wanted to trade down because, let's say, both of those guys are there, Odunze, Bowers, now I have to come up with, 7 players that I would want. But if someone's trading up, you're assuming it's probably a cornerback or a quarterback in that capacity. So really 6 players is what you need. You need 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17. No, you need 17. You need 7 still. So Odunze, Bowers, Brian Thomas Jr., Fuaga, Olu, Latham, Fontenot. Those are my 7. If I trade down to the Jaguars, one of those 7 will be available for the New York Jets. And you get a second-round pick. I like the stick and pick at 10. I think get your best possible player you can get, and I'd rather trade up from the 3rd round, I think. But if you can get the Jaguars to give you a second-round pick and only fall back to 17, I do like that a lot. Mason Smith, defensive tackle out of LSU. Jordan Morgan could be a popular option for fans in the 2nd round if you go weapon in the 1st round. 5-year starter, I believe, right? Morgan is a very athletic left tackle with average size and pass protection. He is quick out of his stance to meet and cover up speed rushers. He can sink his weight and drop levels when bull rushed. He also does a nice job reworking his hands when he gets knocked back to regain leverage. He struggles to redirect inside when facing counter moves, getting beat on the inside shoulder too often. He also has occasionally ducks his head, which is correctable. In the run game, he has more finesse than power. He can use quickness to cut off the backside, and he takes excellent angles to the 2nd level to wall off linebackers. He doesn't have a lot of knockback power to displace defenders over his nose. Morgan is just 1 year removed from an ACL surgery. I'm hopeful he can add more strength and power now that he's healthy. Overall, he's a he has starting tackle ability. So Jordan Morgan for me is on the same level as, like, if you're bringing someone in like Jordan Morgan, that probably means that that probably means that Max Mitchell is probably going to see his way out, because I see Morgan as more of a tackle. I don't particularly want to go this route, if I'm being honest, but if you get a 2nd round pick, not the worst thing you can do. And then Rutgers cornerback Max Melton, rounding out the number 50 pick in Daniel Jeremiah's top 50 here. Mudfiles, what's up, dude? Says, Ryan, did you feel that rumbling earlier? Yeah. Watch the beginning part of this stream after it ends. That was pure panic. It was very interesting, the very beginning part of the stream. Terrifying. I hope everyone's okay in Jets Talk household. We are all good. Everyone is fine. If Alt, Harrison, or Rome Odunze isn't there at 10, trade back, recoup a 2nd at minimum, and take the best player available. So I don't think Harrison's going to be there. I don't think Alt's going to be there. I'm not sure if Odunze is going to be there. He might go 9. If I'm sitting at 10 and Odunze's off the board, I very much would like to trade down, because I don't think the next few teams would be taking Brock Bowers. And if you could trade down to 12 or 13 and still get Bowers and pick up an extra pick, I like that a little bit more. Like, I like Bowers more in a trade down than I do at 10. But if you can't trade down, or you got to trade down too far where you feel uncomfortable, I'm fine with taking Bowers at 10. All right, I told you guys I wanted to take a look at the Jets meetings that they've had. And this is coming from, I think it's Walter Football that I got this list from. Micah Abraham, cornerback Marshall, Joe Alt, Jaden Daniels, Troy Fontenot, Jaden Hicks, Michael Hears, Drake May, Braden McGregor, Max Melton, Malik Neighbors, Bo Nix, Rome Odunze, Brendan Rice, Chop Robinson, Justin Rogers, Roger Rosengarten. I'm not going to pronounce that wide receiver's last name. Aeneas Smith? Probably butchering that. Mason Smith, Jordan Travis. So when I'm looking at this list, these are the guys that I'm kind of highlighting. Players that I really think the New York Jets, or at least I'm keying in on here. Joe Alt, if he makes it to 10, make the pick, 6'8", moves real quick. Would be a little bit disappointing. Like, if we move up to number 5 and the pick is Joe Alt, and it's not like Malik Neighbors or Odunze or Marvin Harrison Jr., I feel like there's going to be a little bit of like, man, like, okay, cool, like, we got our guy, but I would be a little let down if that happened. Troy Fontenot, the guard tackle hybrid, is really the perfect type of offensive lineman if you're going to draft one. In my opinion, he would probably be offensive lineman number 1 for me, because I do think Alt goes 7 to the Titans. Now, it would be interesting to see if Alt was there. Would the Jets potentially think to go Fontenot because of the flexibility that he provides? It'd be an interesting thought experiment, I think. Malik Neighbors, Another one I really, really like, blazing fast speed. I don't think he's going to be there for the Jets. 𝐿, I think, is the most likely pick for the New York Jets if he's there. And then I would say Bowers. It's pretty surprising that Bowers is not on this list, which could tell you something. It might be like, hey, the Jets aren't going to, telegraph who they necessarily want to take. So maybe they're being a little sneaky. I think they are still the favorites for Bowers, if I'm not mistaken. Brendan Rice was on our Senior Bowl team with Ulbrich as head coach. Obviously, Jerry Rice's son. I really like the legacy guys. I've told you that. If he's available in the third round, like if you wanted to go with a Fautanu in the first, or if you could trade down a little bit and pick up a second round pick, and now all of a sudden you get like a Bowers in round one, you get some interior offensive lineman, maybe like a Roger Rosengarten, who's just below him, offensive tackle, Washington. If you get him in the second round and then you add a Brendan Rice in the third round, now you are cooking, baby. I like Brendan Rice a lot. Chop Robinson, we saw the Jets are meeting with him for a top 30 visit. He's going to go higher than I would like us to look at an edge rusher for. Maybe there's a little bit of thought that one of our other division rivals might go after him. Like some of this to me, if you're looking at top 30 visits, trying to figure out what other teams these players have met with and what other teams might be doing could be just as valuable depending on how serious you are with, later picks. Us only having the one first round pick, I feel like you can kind of flex it a little bit in terms of what you're looking at to get a feel for where certain players you may like may end up going. Justin Rogers, nose tackle out of Auburn. Roger Rosengarten. We were talking about him before. Obviously, the other tackle with Fautanu. I believe he went at the back end of the first round in Mel Kiper's most recent mock draft. So maybe he goes too high for us, but I think did Jeremiah even have? I think Jeremiah had him on his list. Did he, or did he not? I don't think he did. So if that's the case, and Jeremiah doesn't think he's a top 50 player, then maybe he does fall far enough down that you could snag him in a trade up scenario or trade down scenario, either one. Jordan Travis, quarterback out of Florida State. That's the quarterback I've been penciling in as like the watch this dude in the fourth round because of his physical traits, the injury. I like that you could probably IR him for a season. Let him learn behind Aaron Rodgers. There's no forced situation where he's got to come in and play if you IR him. And he doesn't count towards the roster. So you don't have to count him towards the 53-man team. But he still gets to learn. And him learning with Tyrod Taylor, I feel like the two of them with their mobility is something like good to build off of. Like, this is how Tyrod started his career. This is how you could have success a little bit earlier on. And then, oh, by the way, you've got Mr. Hall of Famer stud muffin over there, Mr. Aaron Rodgers, that you get to watch train for the next 2 years as well. Mudviles, thank you, dude, for the super chat. Drops a 20 spot. You're the man, dude. Let me get where's my button? See, Shay's been playing with my light pad here, and I don't have all my stuff right away. Thank you, Mudviles. Greatly appreciated. Just went to the beginning of the stream. You had the fear of God in your eyes, but I'm all the way in Staten Island. Glad everyone's okay. Did you hear the idea of a quarterback the Jets want is there? They might pull the trigger. I think that's all smoke. Speaking of smoke, if you guys have not done so, if you want to try any 𝐀𝐟𝐼R𝐢𝐥𝐢𝐚 products, maybe you don't like smoking, or maybe you don't want to go to a dispensary, or maybe you don't want to maybe you want to give up a little bit of alcohol. You want to give up drinking. It hurts to drink alcohol for me at this 34 years young stage. Doesn't handle it quite like the 20-year-old Ryan does. 25% off Crescent Canna. Use promo code JetsTalk down below. Syrup, seltzers, gummies. Lots of fun. They just added some Sleepy Time gummies that they're sending me, and I'm super stoked on it. This is one of those sponsorships that I actually reached out to them. I was like, hey, I really like your products, and I would love to do this is actually an affiliate one. So I don't even get paid unless something sells. So I genuinely like it. So very, very much appreciate Crescent Canna. Looking forward to the sour seltzer they got coming my way. Very, very excited. But do I think that the Jets would take a quarterback if the right one falls? I don't. I don't think the Jets are taking a quarterback at 10. I think that's all smoke. I think, sure, if a Penix, if a Drake May, if someone like that fell I still don't see it happening because I feel like any number of teams would trade out in front of us. But if you can convince someone like the Bears to trade out of number 9 because the Broncos or the Raiders are afraid the Jets might take a quarterback and the Jets are really trying to target Odunze and they think Odunze is going to go to the Bears, and if you try to send off these little signals, then maybe you get Odunze to fall to you because the Bears trade out of number 9. Now, honestly, I prefer the Jets to make that trade down move with one of those teams because I want the extra pick to only fall down a few spots because there's so many players I do like. But there is some benefit to the Jets sending signals that they may want a quarterback. Aaron Rodgers' age, the combine, you saw the Jets working out with the quarterbacks. We've had guys at pro days. It's interesting. R&R says, do they ship to any state? As far as I know, yeah. They ship everywhere. What's interesting is, like, you'd have to look at a video, and I don't want to say the wrong thing, but I'm pretty sure, like, they accidentally made it legal, like, federally, because of the Delta 9 THC. Something along those lines, where it's like, oh, plants that produce Delta 9 THC are illegal, but, like, they don't actually produce, like, a portion. Whatever. I watched a YouTube video on it. It was crazy. But Crescent Cannon will ship to your door. Very cool. And it's pretty fast, too. I think I got my stuff in, like, 5 days. And 50 milligram seltzer, bam. That stuff is good. If I do a 2-hour live stream and I drink that, second hour of the live stream, little fun. Red John comes in and says, how far would you trade down to pick up a second, and who would you take with those picks? I would say I would go as far down as 22. I think that's as far as I feel comfortable going down because I do feel like Amarius Mims and Tyler Guyton are both there. If I could get a second round pick, I would probably, I think I like more wide receivers in the second round. If Brian Thomas Jr. made it to 22, then I would probably take him. But more than likely, if I go down to 22, I think I'm taking an offensive lineman because of how the board's going to fall. That would mean in the second round, because of the wide receivers that I like, now you're talking maybe a Keon Coleman, contested catch guy. Maybe you're talking, one of these other quicker wide receivers, a Troy Franklin or a, Xavier Worthy, Adonai Mitchell, Roman Wilson, Malachi Corley, Tez Walker, Xavier Legette. Like, there's a lot of receivers in the second round that I really like. So I'm probably, in a trade down scenario, I'm probably more likely to go offensive lineman. If you can fall down and get Fautanu, I think that's the ideal player in a trade down that you could get. But based on where Jeremiah has him, I think he has him at number 11 on his board. I think that would be a little tougher to consider in a trade down. Or I think it'd be a little tougher to see him fall as far as you could. Papa says not one running back on that list. I think the Jets aren't going to spend a high pick on a running back. I think you could take one in like the later rounds. Frank Gore Jr., another legacy name. People are going to get on me for the legacy names. I like the legacy names. I really do. I like the way Frank Gore plays too. R&R is looking for the gummies. Yeah, the gummies are good. Oh, check out the size of these gummies. They make a few different ones. They have CBD and they also have the THC. But check out the size. This one's like 25 milligram gummy. I think it's like the size of my eyeball. Thing's huge. Very tasty. What's this one? This one's watermelon, I think. No, strawberry. Really good. They got 10 milligram. I think they got 15 milligram. Your boy went with the big dog 50 milligram, though. 50 milligram seltzer, 25 milligram gummies. Greg saying Audric Estime, the Notre Dame running back. Know a lot of people like him. Blake Corum, the Michigan running back. Again, I don't want to spend that high of a pick on a running back. I like the idea of bringing in like a fresh legs, a bully. Braden Allen's an interesting one. My brother's real high on him. Out of Wisconsin. I think it's Wisconsin. One of those red teams. R&R, there you go. The wife and I will definitely be placing an order. It's like, honestly, it's probably one of the better affiliate links that I've ever done because it's so good. It's a genuine, like, I thoroughly love their stuff. Very, very tasty. Hawk says Mitchell's a beast. I think he's goes 31 to the 49ers. I could see that. They're going to replace their or at least have in the hopper someone to replace Ayuk. I could see Ayuk rolling out this year and then them franchise tagging him and trading him next year. I've heard the Bills could be in play for Brandon Ayuk. I don't know if I see that, though, if he's going to get a monster contract. The Bills don't have a crazy ton of cap room. I guess you can manipulate the contract, and maybe I think they can get out of Von Miller after this year. So maybe they have more money in future years than we're kind of leading on for this season. All right, boys and girls. We started this stream with an earthquake. We're ending the stream with gummies and talking about all that stuff. Crazy, crazy stuff. Daniel Jeremiah's top 50. I want to hear your guys' thoughts on the top 50. What players do you particularly want to see the Jets go after? That's what I want to see, especially in trade down scenarios. I think there's just so many players that you can consider. Let me know. I've got to go take Ren to the doctor. She's getting some shots today. Whew. My heart's still pounding from that earthquake. That was absolutely terrible. If you want to see the reaction to the earthquake and how everything happened, watch the beginning of the stream. That was not fun. Absolutely terrifying. All right, boys and girls, this is Jets Talk signing off. Jets.
You're out of here! Hit hard by Jermaine Johnson. Look at the speed of Brees Hall. Brees Lightning. 𝐂𝐿𝐳𝐤𝐬. Got it. Touchdown Jets. One, two, three.